Today I'm going to talk about how best to read a regulatory paper in the field of finance or regulations, banking. If working in the field of finance, right? I think it's important to read the regulatory requirements in the given field. It could be in the risk management area, it could be in the compliance area, it could be anything else, right, in the field of finance. And one should read about these papers in order to keep yourself updated with the latest regulatory requirements in various areas in the field of finance. If you're working in the field of banking, you probably come across regulatory papers very often, and there are some good ways to use in order to get the best out of these papers, and that's something I'm going to discuss today. Right. Now, these papers are not necessarily the most interesting paper to read. They're very lengthy, very, very long. In fact, most of these papers run into hundreds of pages. And as working professionals, it's very unlikely that you have time to go through each and every word in these papers. So how to make the most out of it without having to spend hours and hours, right? So first of all, it's important to first of all recognize that one should actually devote some time towards reading these papers, because that's probably one of the best way to keep yourself updated with the latest regulation. There have been times when I was in interviews where the interview went quite well, but I was asked about latest updates on some regulations, and I was not aware about those changes, and that became embarrassing, right? So if you are going for interviews and you probably expect questions related to regulatory changes in your own area in the field of finance, and therefore it's good to keep yourself updated. Nobody will ask about each and every detail, but to say that you do not even know what changes have been proposed by the regulator or the supervisor, and you do not know even at a high level, I think that's quite embarrassing. And I have had this experience quite a few times in my career. So it's good to first of all follow the regulator on LinkedIn, because they also sort of summarize a number of things from the paper and put that on their LinkedIn pages, right? I, for instance, follow the ECB, EBA LinkedIn pages on LinkedIn. If you're working in the US, you could follow the Federal Reserve's LinkedIn page. In UK, the PRA. In India, you have RBI and so on. So good to follow the LinkedIn pages to sort of get to know things every time there is a change and what change is being proposed. At high level, they would obviously write about it on the post itself, and there would be again discussions underneath, so you will get to know a bit about what is really changed, right, and what's being proposed in the new paper, right? It might look bit scary if you look at it. Like, this particular paper is from EBA, the European Banking Authority, and it's about the EU-wide stress test. And it's a paper, it's a methodological paper published just a week back, I think 2 weeks back. And it's about a paper where the regulator has proposed the new methodology as to how to properly do stress test in different areas of risk management, in credit side, on market side, operational risk side. I think climate risk is not in there, but credit, market, and operational certainly are there, right? So if you look at it, right, it's a scary paper because it's 200 pages, but not everything is relevant for you, right? So it's important to only go through the pages where you are working. For example, if you are working in credit risk, you only care about the credit risk part, and that probably is 50-60 pages, right? Some people don't even look at this document, thinking that, oh, it's so long and we don't have time to read, because a lot of things are not relevant. And out of the 200 pages, you have citations, you have appendix. If you leave that out, that would bring down the number of pages. So it's not that thick as it is, it seems to be when you look at the number of pages for the first time. right? So it's good to first read about the introduction part, because the introduction that discuss everything at a high level. The summary is there, so you will get to know a bit about everything. And then go in order to go into details, you just go to the area where you are working. If you're working in credit risk area, just go to the credit risk section. No, this is the credit risk section. There you have details. Again, for every section you also have subsections, but it starts with an overview. So if you really don't have time, it's good to first just go through the overview. You can simply go through the overview at background and objectives, and in the first few things in the introduction. So just go to the introduction, that's about 20 pages, and then just go through the few pages from the credit risk section, because that's what is your area, right? But if you are in the market risk area, you can directly go to the market risk area, right? And you can just skip the credit risk part. You don't have to go through each and every part of credit risk. Also, let me tell you that these documents are very well written, so it's not going to be very difficult to understand. The language as such is pretty simple and easy to understand. The only challenge is that you can have a bit of a repetition of number of things, and a lot of things can be summarized in about few sentences. But the because these are legal documents, right? So everything has to be super detailed, right? So if you understand the first two sentences of a paragraph, everything else is just a repetition and more explanation to that. So you can be a bit more smart while sort of trying to read. Can you use AI tools to summarize? Yes, why not? I'm not sure if AI tools are quite good at summarizing such documents. Maybe they are. That's also one good. But can you summarize it only for a specific section of a document? I'm not sure if there are such AI tools. But if there are, I think it's also good to make use of those tools. Oh, okay. Now this paper, I'm going to discuss this paper, by the way, in another video. Certain changes or certain requirements in the new from EBA. But this particular video is about how to sort of make the best use of it, and not going through the details of what's being proposed, right? And if you really want to know the banks involved and a bit about how things have been made, what sources have been used, who were contacted, and details, you can directly go to the appendix and get to know about that. A lot of people completely ignore the appendix, the annex part. A lot of important stuff are actually there. So for a lot of the work that you do, you probably have to refer to the annex, the different sections in the annex. Okay, so it do not have to go through each and every section in the annex, but it's good to know actually what is mentioned, and if you need any information for your work, you can simply go and check it out. Okay, so these are some of the tips to use if you are reading any regulatory document. One best practice that I use is that every time I read such documents, I take notes. Okay, that's one good practice. You can also, for example, just highlight some of the sections which are important while reading. Okay, just go to the highlighter and just use that to highlight some of the sections which you really want to remember. Okay, so you highlight and save the PDF and put it over there. Maybe 3 months down the line you really want to see it again, you can quickly go through the highlighted sections and get the best out of this document, right? That's one really good way to do that. Otherwise, it's not that easy to go through each and every regulatory document, because there are just too many of them, and all of them run into hundreds of pages. These are some of the things I want to share. Thanks, guys. Any questions, let me know in the comments.